Despite reviewing over 30 different electric skateboards over the past 3 years, I had never had the chance to review any of the Evolve electric skateboard models. A few weeks ago, I received a Renegade review unit from the folks at Evolve Skateboards and had the opportunity to ride it for a while to write a review. This experience with the Renegade significantly changed my preconceptions about Evolve skateboards. Initially, I thought, no, it's too expensive for what you get, but now I'm thinking, holy crap, I'm going to buy one immediately after I return this review unit because I'm going to miss it. And I did pick up a Diablo Carbon. Review is incoming. Before we proceed, a quick disclaimer. The Renegade you see in the video is a review unit sent to me by the Evolve team. I get to borrow it for a few weeks, after which I have to send it back. No money or transactions are involved. Unlike other e-skate companies that send me review units, Evolve simply said, go have fun. There were no documents to sign, no marketing points that I had to mention in my review, and they didn't even want to preview the video before its release. This is a sign of a company so confident in their product that they let the actual performance of the skateboard speak for itself, which is rare among the manufacturers I've worked with. So yes, you're watching this review for the first time at the same time as Evolve, and the content has not been altered in any way. Now, let's get back to the review. I think many people, myself included, shop for electric skateboards almost exclusively online. It's hard to compare these boards side by side as you would when shopping for a laptop or TV at a local Best Buy. When we shop online, we tend to look at a few stock pictures and then scrutinize the specs. As a result, almost all e-skate manufacturers today are trying to outdo each other by cramming bigger specs, such as larger battery packs and more powerful motors, into their boards to appear superior to consumers on paper. As Dequan mentioned in his video, boards nowadays are becoming bigger, heavier, and unnecessarily fast in this specs arms race. However, with the Renegade, I can tell Evolve didn't go this route. Everything great about the Evolve Renegade are aspects that you can't quantify on a spreadsheet. From the design to the feel of the materials, the software, and the customer support, I am really impressed so far. In this review, I will highlight everything that has impressed me so far. When I held up the Evolve Face remote, I literally exclaimed, holy sh*, this feels so good in my hand. It's weighty and metallic, even feeling cold to the touch because the remote is almost entirely made of metal parts. Combined with a trigger system, it feels as if I'm wielding a small firearm. The build quality of the new Phase remote is insane. It feels sturdy. I've accidentally dropped it twice already, and it's still working perfectly fine. Honestly, with its metal alloy frame, this might be the best remote I've ever held. But wait, there's more. I've always had complaints about Hobbywing and Ling Yi remotes. I would spend thousands on a nice looking electric skateboard, and the only part that ever touches your skin are these cheap plastic remotes. Holding these remotes for the entire duration of the ride constantly reminds you of how cheap they feel. Maybe I'm easily impressed, but just holding this new Phase remote is game-changing for me. It's enough to make me wonder why all my remotes aren't like this. What else am I missing in my life? The Phase remote also features a deadman's trigger, which I think is essential and should come standard on all electric skateboards for safety reasons. I've accidentally launched my other boards at full speed more than a handful of times, sometimes damaging doors and sometimes hitting my own legs. It's great to see this implemented, as I now have to hold down the deadman's trigger to engage the accelerator. That's a nice safety feature. Once you get moving, the deadman's trigger becomes optional, meaning you can release it while riding without engaging it. The trigger only works when you start from a complete stop, ensuring it doesn't compromise your safety once you're already in motion. The best feature on this remote is the ability to monitor battery health. If your cells become unbalanced and you unknowingly continue to use it, you might actually start a fire. This is a critical safety feature that all electric vehicles should have. However, it is still extremely rare because other brands often skimp on implementing such crucial safety features to reduce costs. So if you care about your home not going up in flames, Evolve skateboards are the ones to get. The The motors on the Renegade are surprisingly quiet for a belt drive board. The noise level is comparable to gear drive boards, which are typically very quiet. Even though this is a review unit that has seen some miles and traveled some distances before it got to me, the entire drivetrain remains quiet without a single weird noise coming from any component. The belt tension is perfect with no slack or shaking components even after all those miles. This is a testament to the excellent build quality of the Renegade. The Renegade has very strong torque in the lower RPMs, which tapers off as you reach higher speeds. Initially, I was slightly bothered by this because it felt like the Renegade was cheating by giving riders the illusion of great acceleration at lower speeds, only for the torque to drop off as the speed increased. This means you need to lean at a very aggressive angle to stay on the board during the initial acceleration, then adjust your stance as the acceleration force tapers off. While this initially put me off, it all made sense when I rode off-road. The power at lower speeds provides exceptional torque to get you through rough terrains, while the smoother power delivery at higher speeds allows for more stability and fewer jerky movements. The Renegade understands its role as an off-road mountain board, delivering more torque at lower speeds and more stability and smoothness at higher speeds. Since the Hadean is no longer up for purchase and replaced by the Diablo series, you'll find a lot more torque and range to everything I just mentioned when you buy the Diablo Renegade at the same price. With this in mind, the Hadean should be a little bit cheaper to buy used, and if you have the Evolve Renegade Hadean, you can upgrade the entire drivetrain to the Diablo series later down the road with the drivetrain kit. Either way, it doesn't change the fact that if you want a precision tool for off-road fun, both Hadean and Diablo are worth a serious look. The Renegade skateboard is truly a work of art. There are boards out there with great specs that still look boring. Over the past few years, I've seen enough electric skateboards to recognize shared, reused, and white-labeled factory parts across many brands based in China. But when I look at the Renegade, everything strikes me as original, carefully designed and crafted. From the deck shape to the truck design, all the way to the surface grooves on the electric motors, everything screams premium, high quality, and unique. This isn't some low-effort cash grab. I wouldn't mind hanging the Renegade on my wall as an art piece. The deck even came pre-drilled, and this is the first deck I've seen that's not only pre-drilled but also pre-threaded with multiple rows of holes so that your bindings will fit however you prefer. For example, my Ace Deck Z3 came with only one set of pre-drilled holes. If you want to shift your feet differently than the predetermined binding positions, you're pretty much out of luck. However, on the Renegade, you can change your foot position and tilt as well. This review isn't the full binding review, but I'll have that one up in a few weeks, so be sure to subscribe to catch it when it drops. Another thing that makes me happy are the Evolve tires, especially the tubes. They might just be the best tubes in the industry. I only need to fill air in my board once per season. Seriously, just once per season, and they remain inflated for 6 months or more. If you find pumping tires annoying, you'll appreciate these tires for their exceptional ability to retain air. I run Evolve tires on almost all my boards once the stock ones wear out. The trucks on the Renegade are designed and built for maximum strength using a forged manufacturing process. These trucks use both springs and bushings. The springs have only one option and are not adjustable, while the bushings come in 80A and 60A. At 195 pounds, I find the 80A bushings work just fine on my board. Unlike other types of trucks, the spring and bushing compressions cannot be tuned. Initially, I found this slightly annoying since I prefer my board to be more stable, and there's nothing I can do to adjust it other than spending some time getting used to the board's turning dynamics. To my surprise, I got used to how the board turns and carves in just a few minutes. Normally, I tune my boards to adapt to my riding style, which falls within a small safe zone where I prefer very stiff bushings. However, the Renegade pushed me outside of my comfort zone, and I feel extremely rewarded for sticking with how it's designed. The Renegade can make some pretty sharp turns without much effort at low speeds. For a 195-pound person like me, this setup with the 80A bushings feels similar to the 80A bushings on double kingpin trucks. However, the difference is that the Renegade trucks feel incredibly more stable at higher speeds, offering the best of both worlds. The truck can handle hard 90-degree turns on the sidewalk and still ramp up to 20 miles per hour without feeling like you're losing control. I do have to warn that the trucks can feel loose at top speed, which may cause the rider to oversteer and potentially fall off the board if not expecting it. There have been a few times when I was going fast, and I overleaned just slightly more than I should have. As a result, the board almost twitched before snapping back straight again. I wish Evolve offered stiffer bushings or tougher springs so I could adjust the board to a high-speed configuration instead of the current off-road setup, allowing me to better prepare for the ride I want to have each day. Now, with Diablo coming out, this is even more true. With more top speed and monstrous torque, you may find yourself in need of more stability, as it's much easier to ramp up speed on this board. The Renegade deck is also pretty amazing. It's one of the prettiest decks I've ever seen. It's super thin and lightweight, offering just enough vibration dampening while remaining stable on bumpy rides so you don't lose your balance. I previously had an Eco-Mobile Telum electric skateboard with a similar deck shape, but it was so overly loose and floppy that I literally got thrown around on uneven ground. On the other extreme, I've had the Kali XL and the Onzra Valar, where the decks have a similar shape to the Renegade, but are extremely rigid with no flex at all. The Renegade deck hits the sweet spot with its combination of shape, stability, and flexibility. Additionally, the Evolve Renegade has a pretty long deck. Standing from end to end on the deck can feel a bit uncomfortable due to its length. However, a longer deck creates a longer wheelbase, which increases stability and gives you more leverage for tricks. So if you want more leverage for tricks and increased stability from a longer stance, the Renegade deck is perfect for that. There are some things I don't like about the Renegade, although none of them are deal breakers. For example, as I mentioned earlier, the springs can't be adjusted or fine-tuned. The only way to adjust the turning of the board is by changing the bushings. I like to adjust my rebound and compression based on the type of riding I plan on doing. With the current design, I just can't make those finer adjustments. However, I could still change the bushings housed within the springs to make adjustments, but the bushing choices are severely limited. Overall, it only took me a few minutes to get used to the board's characteristics, so I don't think this is a huge deal. Still, it would be a nice improvement to allow for such fine-tuning. Let's talk about the price. The board costs $2,500 without bindings, which is quite pricey. On paper, other manufacturers might stuff more batteries into their boards or slap on bigger motors. It's easy to do that. In my opinion, the Renegade is purposefully built like a ninja, lightweight and agile for doing tricks. It would be unfair to compare this lightweight ninja to a fully armored samurai, as they serve different purposes. I highly recommend getting the full bindings with the board, as the other 50% of the board's potential can only be unlocked with bindings. Lastly, the LEDs seemed like an afterthought. They are small and tucked in the corners of the board, making them hard to see, unlike the Hadean Carbon series. Honestly, I don't think anyone would notice these LEDs unless you're riding in the middle of the night in a very dark place. No one is going to notice them during the day at all, but hey, some LEDs are better than no LEDs. I hope the next iteration will have more lights than the current version. Overall, the Renegade is powerful, fun, and purposefully built to be light and agile. It's supported by the best remote I've ever seen, and the best app in the industry. Additionally, they have a support team that actually speaks English. My experience with Chinese company services has sometimes been challenging due to language barriers. Luckily, I speak Chinese, so I can switch to communicate clearly. From my many interactions with Evolve, I personally think they provide the best response time and service in the industry. In conclusion, the Evolve Renegade electric skateboard is an excellent choice for riders who prioritize performance and durability, especially for off-road adventures. Its robust design, powerful motors, and advanced features make it a top-tier electric mountain board. However, potential buyers should carefully consider their budget and compare alternatives to ensure they get the best value for their money. For those who can afford it, the Renegade promises an unparalleled riding experience that is hard to beat.